Hello everyone, this is Mr. Combs, and in this video I want to talk about incorporating sources into your essay. Now, you have watched an Edpuzzle video, and you will take a look at resources from the Excelsior Online Writing Lab. Both of those are excellent resources, but I wanted to give you this extra resource where I look at a paragraph and incorporate some sources into it. So, some things I have pulled up are the APA documentation PowerPoint presentation, and I have it to where the in-text citation information is displayed. And if I go down a couple more slides, I'll see the basic format for a narrative citation that involves a signal phrase. So notice here that you have the author's last name. You can put the author's first and last name. You have the date, and then you have your material. If it's quoted material, you put quotation marks around the quoted material, and you put a page or paragraph number at the end. I also have pulled up information from the Edpuzzle video you watched talking about how to incorporate sources that are unique. So if I need to insert words into a direct quote to clarify, or if I need to eliminate information to make things more concise, if I have a quote that is 40 words or longer, how do I incorporate each of those? And this information here comes from the Edpuzzle video you watched. So in this video, I will look at this paragraph about immigrant influences in the United States, and I will incorporate some evidence in the form of sources. So the instructions say, use the instructions given to incorporate sources into the following paragraph. The number in the paragraph tells you where to incorporate each numbered source from the instructions. Remember, your goal is to create a conversation or dialogue among you and the authors of the sources you use. Use signal phrases to help guide your reader and make the paragraph interesting to read. So you can always use parenthetical citations where all of the citation information comes at the end of a source use. But I think it's better to use narrative citations where you use a signal phrase introducing the author of your source. So let's look at the paragraph. It says the United States of America have always been heavily influenced by immigration. There's our thesis. Immigration is our topic. The fact that the United States have always been influenced by it is our controlling idea. Our three main reasons why our thesis is true can be found in the next sentence. Immigrants have given the United States their languages, their foods, and their customs. So these are the three main points that this author is going to make. So, for instance, many U.S. city names come from Spanish immigrants. These include Los Angeles, San Diego, and El Paso. I might want to explain that a little more. So I might go to a source, and here I have some excerpts from different sources. And one of the excerpts is from Brant Maxwell's website, geographylists.com. So Brant Maxwell says 11 of the 50 largest U.S. cities have Spanish names, not including Colorado Springs, which has some English in its name. All 11 of these cities used to be part of Mexico before they were ceded to the U.S. So I want to use this information to help back up my point that a lot of our place names come from different languages, or a different language other than English. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this, copy and paste it into my document. And you can do this with sources, any electronic sources, especially those that come from a database. You can most of the time just highlight what you want and insert it. You may need to change fonts to make everything match up, okay? But I'm just going to highlight all of this information that I might need. And the directions here say to use the ellipsis, as you quote Maxwell, to eliminate non-relevant information. So there's some information here that really are not relevant to my argument. So I'm going to copy and paste. So copy, and then I'm going to go to my paragraph, and I'm going to paste here at the bottom, just so I can figure things out and organize my thoughts. So I'm going to say paste. I'll go ahead and hide that. All right. So, immigrants have given the United States their languages, their foods, their customs. For instance, many U.S. city names come from Spanish immigrants. These include Los Angeles, San Diego, and El Paso. So, what I might want to do is I might want to put this quote at the end of those examples, or I might want to put it in between. So let's see how it sounds in between. Now, remember that the basic format is that I want to put the author's name, and the date to introduce the quote. I may want to say something like, or use a signal verb like Maxwell states, or according to Maxwell. I might say according to Brant Maxwell. And then remember the date is 2005 here, 2005. And then I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to start the quote. And basically, I'm just going to take it and copy it and paste it. Now, APA says that I can leave this as capital, but if I want it to fit better in the sentence, I can make that change by making that capital letter a lowercase letter so it fits better within the sentence. So 11 of the 50 largest U.S. cities have Spanish names. Now, this idea of not including Colorado Springs, that's not really relevant to what I'm saying. So I'm going to eliminate that. But if I eliminate it to show that something was there and I eliminated it, I need to use an ellipsis. So dot, space, dot. And then I'm going to put another dot for the period that was at the end of that sentence. All 11 of these cities used to be part of Mexico before they were ceded to the U.S. Now, the end of my quotation, I do not put a period here usually after U.S. The reason why it has a period there is because that's the period for the abbreviation. I do not put a period within the quotation marks. Then I'm going to put in parentheses the page or paragraph number this comes from. So this is from a website. And I will indicate on the reference page that it's a website, so I don't need to worry about that. But this is in paragraph 1 of that website. So I'm going to say PARA period space 1 and then put the period. And there I have successfully incorporated this quote by Maxwell. So, for instance, many U.S. city names come from Spanish immigrants. According to Brant Maxwell, 11 of the 50 largest U.S. cities have Spanish names. All 11 of these cities used to be part of Mexico before they were ceded to the U.S. These include Los Angeles, San Diego, and El Paso. So, as we read on, American cuisine now includes foods from many other traditions, from Chinese sweet and sour pork to Greek baklava. American cuisine now includes foods from many other traditions, from Chinese sweet and sour pork to Greek baklava. So that part was the end of that thought, not the beginning of the next one. So American children who enjoy eating pizza, spaghetti, or tacos may think they're eating typical American fare, but they are not. In fact, a vital ingredient needed to make pizza, the tomato, has a history shaped by multiple countries. So now it's time to have some proof, right? So, or some evidence to back that claim up. So I'm going to go to my evidence that I've compiled, my research. Now it says incorporate the following as a long quotation. This is information about the history of the tomato, and I think it's all pretty good information, so I want to include all of it. It's more than 40 words, so I'm going to include it as a long quote or a block quote. So I'm going to copy and paste again, just so I can be working in the same document. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need that anymore, but I am going to paste this new information. All right, so this comes from Suman Bandrapali from 1997. So what I might do is I'm going to get rid of that number 2, and I might say something like, to introduce this, I might say Suman Bandrapali, 1997, provides this history of the tomato. Now, because this is a long quote, instead of using a comma, I'm going to use a colon. I'm going to hit enter. And what I usually do is I will hit enter twice, and then I'll go back up, and I'm going to paste the long quote. Now, this 4, in the original material, it was sort of stylized, but I'm not going to do that in my essay. I'm going to just format it like I would normally format text. All right, now what I need to do is I need to tab over every line. So I think what you do is you're going to hit Control and Tab, and that will tab over every line, and then hit Control and Tab again. Now, sometimes it doesn't look like it's going to do it this time, but sometimes it gets the hint. Word does, depending on what version you're using, and like after the second tab over, it'll tab everything over. Okay. But if it doesn't, you just tab each line and you hit Control and Tab. Now, Suman Bandrapali. So now what I need to do is, this is a direct quote. Because it's a block quote, I'm not going to put quotation marks around it. But I do need to put the page number or paragraph number it comes from. And this comes from paragraph 5 of Bandrapali's article. So I'm going to put this for a long quote. Remember, the parentheses comes after the period. For a short quote, usually you have the quotation marks, the parentheses with the page number, and then the period. But for a long quote, the information about the location comes after the period. So paragraph, or PARA 5, and I don't put a period there. So that looks... Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? I'm putting that in the wrong place. Excuse me. This goes up here in my quote. There we go. So now I have incorporated that information. In fact, a vital ingredient needed to make pizza, the tomato, has a history shaped by multiple countries. Suman Bandrapali provides this history of the tomato. For most of its existence, the tomato was ignored or feared. Spanish explorers brought tomato seeds back from Peru, where the plant grew wild. The golden apple, the fruits were small and yellow, came to the Spanish-controlled kingdom of Naples about 1525. Neapolitans embraced tomatoes in their cooking right away, but the rest of the world thought the fruit was poisonous until about 1750. In 1830, the first known pizzeria in the world opened in Naples. Pizza came to New York in 1905. All right. So it says immigrants have also influenced American cultural practices. Since Germans, I don't know how to get rid of that here. Since Germans brought the Christmas tree to America, every immigrant group that celebrates Christmas has added something to American Christmas tradition. Other holidays have been influenced by other cultures as well. Do you like carving pumpkins at Halloween? You can thank the Irish for this tradition. I don't like this but that's another video, right? So just because you see you being used, don't use it. Not good for academic arguments. But anyway, it is what we have. So let's see. You can thank the Irish for this tradition of talking about carving pumpkins. So I might need some evidence there. So I'm going to go to my instructions. And number 4 is down here, and it says incorporate the following as a long quotation. Also, appropriately modify the quote to include the word hell. So, this actually comes from A Boy's Life, the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts magazine. So, when they're talking about the folklore and they're talking about the guy named Jack, who was so bad that heaven nor the place that rhymes with yell wanted him. So, they mean hell there. Can't, really not, don't want to say hell in a children's magazine. So they get their point across. But you know what? We're all adults, so we can use hell. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simplify that quote and modify it to include hell. So I'm going to highlight again all the information that I need. And I'm going to go to my paragraph. It says, you can thank the Irish for this tradition. So right here, I'm going to say, well, first of all, what I might do is I might come down here and delete this and paste, all right, this information. So this comes from W.E. Butterworth. So what I might say is I might say something like, Butterworth, you don't always have to use the author's first name as well. So I might just say Butterworth. He's writing in 1997 too. States that, and I'm going to make this a long quote because I'm using the entire thing. So I'm going to put a colon, hit enter, enter, go back up. And then I'm going to copy and paste. Now, we can say hell, so I'm going to get rid of the place that rhymes with yell and replace it with hell. But because I'm changing, and this isn't part of the original source, I'm going to put brackets around it, right? So, according to Irish folklore, jack-o'-lanterns came from a guy named Jack, who was so bad that neither heaven nor hell wanted him. So, like the ghosts, Jack wandered, finding his way by the light of a lump of fiery coal he tossed in a hollowed turnip. When Irish immigrants came to the United States during the potato blight of 1845, they brought the jack-o'-lantern custom, replacing the turnips with pumpkins. So, this is a quote, direct quote, so I'm going to tab over. Control and tab. Sometimes you don't have to hit control, but sometimes if you don't hit control, something happens to the entire document. Then after this, I know that this is from page 33, so I'm going to say P33, and I don't put a period. All right, so finally, let's look at number 3. It says fiestas and serenades are common in the United States, and even New England children enjoy breaking the piñata at birthday parties. Every summer in Washington, D.C., Americans celebrate the diversity of their culture with an exciting folk festival to celebrate the importance of immigrants to our language, food, and customs. Okay, so basically that's sort of our ending concluding sentence. So I need some evidence about the piñatas. So I'm going to go to my evidence, and I have some information about the piñata. This comes from the Oxford Companion to Sugar and Sweets. From its likely origins in China and subsequent travels through Italy and Spain, and finally to Mexico and the United States, the piñata tradition has remained basically the same, a candy-filled container that is broken by a blindfolded player. All right, this is by Norma Cantu. So what I'm going to do is highlight all of this, and these instructions are to paraphrase. We've been doing direct quotes, but you don't want to have so many direct quotes that you lose your voice. So it's a good idea to paraphrase as much as you can. And remember, the Edpuzzle video talked about times when go ahead and use the direct quote, but as much as you can, paraphrase. So let's incorporate this source. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need it anymore, and I'm going to replace it with this information. Okay, so I need to get across that the piñata started in most likely in China and came to Italy and Spain and finally Mexico. And then I need to also talk about that it's a candy-filled container that is broken by a blindfolded player. All right, so let's see. How can I work on that and paraphrase it so that it's not close to the original? Let's see. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, according to Norma Cantu, and actually, no, I don't know who Norma Cantu is, but Oxford Companions are notable, right? People know about Oxford Companions. There are Oxford Companions to a lot of things, and they provide good information. So your reader is most likely to recognize the Oxford Companion. So this is a case where I may want to include the source as well, but I always include the author if you know the author. So I might say, in the Oxford, the companion to Sugar and Sweets, Norma Cantu, and this was from 2015, states that the piñata probably originated in China and made its way to Mexico by way, and let's see, and made it to Mexico by way of Italy, Italy, and Spain. Oh, and I also want to say this states that the piñata, the sweet filled container that is busted by blindfolded partygoers. All right, so that I'm using my own words here. So in the Oxford Companion to Sugar and Sweets, Norma Cantu states that the piñata, the sweets-filled container that is busted by blindfolded partygoers, probably originated in China and made it to Mexico by way of Italy and Spain. So that's I'm putting it in my own words. The only thing I don't like here is that I've used container. and they've used container. That seems pretty specific. Like blindfolded, there's no other way to say blindfolded. Or I might, if you're worried about blindfolded, you might say busted by party goers wearing blindfolds. But this container here, I'm a little concerned about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to go down to synonyms and see if it can give us something that is that we could use. So box is here, canister, repository. That sounds a little over the top here. I might say something like box here. So that sweets filled, and then I might say suspended box that is busted by partygoers wearing blindfolds, probably originated in China and made it to Mexico by way of Italy and Spain. So notice here that I don't have to put a I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need it. Notice here that I don't have to put a page number because this is not a direct quote. And there you are. I've incorporated 4 sources into this paragraph. So if you have any questions about this, just let me know. I hope you found this to be helpful.